Everything you believe about speaking it into existence collapses the moment your life refuses to change. Words, by themselves, are air. State is substance. If your inner atmosphere still smells of worry, unworthiness, and waiting, repeating, "I am abundant," is like spraying perfume in a room full of smoke. You scent the surface while breathing the same old fumes. Reality does not obey syllables. It obeys the felt assumption behind them. When you say, "I am loved," do you permit yourself to feel chosen? Do you move through the day as one desired? Or do you scan for proof that you're still overlooked? The body always tells on the belief. Posture, tone, speed of decision, the way you receive compliments of it reveals the state you truly occupy. Most people use affirmations as negotiations with fear. They speak louder when anxiety rises, thinking volume will drown the doubt. But the subconscious listens only to what you accept as normal. Normalize lack, and no mantra will mask it. Normalize increase quietly, privately, and life reorganizes to match. So begin where creation actually occurs, in acceptance of a new identity as already real. Tonight, before sleep, enter the scene that would be true if your statement were fact. Feel the relief of bills paid, the ease in conversation when you no longer need to impress, the warmth of being wanted without effort. Let that be more convincing than bank alerts or other people's moods. Sustain it gently. Return to it when the old story tugs. Speak, yes, but only to give word to what you've dared to feel. And as that feeling steadies, you'll notice something. Outcomes start bending toward you before you finish the sentence. That is your first glimpse of the deeper law that life mirrors identity, not vocabulary. Your world is not listening to your words. It's responding to your frequency, your embodied identity, the silent broadcast of who you believe yourself to be. You may declare wealth every morning, but if you walk like a victim, plan like a beggar, and feel like you're always behind, then lack is your prayer, and life answers faithfully. Let's be precise. You attract nothing. You don't pull blessings toward you like a magnet. You radiate a state, and that state selects. It edits what you notice, how you interpret events, and the decisions you make. If your identity is wired to barely get by, then even opportunities for overflow will feel dangerous, irresponsible, or undeserved. This is why most people stay stuck. They say the right things but be the wrong person. They believe in abundance while apologizing for raising their prices. They repeat, "I am healthy," while scanning their bodies for illness every hour. They proclaim peace and then rush back to the chaos of proving and pleasing. I tell you, you cannot cheat this law. What you are at, the level of state overrules what you say, always. So the invitation is radical. Stop trying to say more powerful things. Start becoming a more powerful presence. Become the version of you who no longer needs to convince. Walk as her. Decide as him. React as someone who knows they are safe, chosen, and capable. And when you do, doors open with no knocking. People treat you according to the signal you now emit. And most stunning of all, things you used to chase start chasing you because you finally stopped pretending and became the one who already has. This is where many give up, because it requires inner death, death of the story that you are still becoming. But if you will let that old skin fall, something extraordinary happens next. The greatest tension in your life isn't from what others do to you, it's the war between what you say you believe and what you actually live. That dissonance is exhausting. You wake up chanting affirmations, but by noon, you're acting like someone who doesn't trust a word of it. And deep inside, you know it. Every time you declare something you haven't embodied, you trigger the mind's alarm. The subconscious doesn't hear your words, it feels your truth. And when those two collide, it doesn't feel empowered, it feels confused. And confusion always delays results. This is why many people, after months of positive thinking, feel worse. Not because the words are wrong, but because the words highlight how unchanged they still are. They say, "I'm confident," and then shrink in the meeting. They say, "I attract love," and then chase people who treat them like an option. The affirmation becomes a spotlight on their contradiction. If you felt that inner resistance, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your soul is wise enough not to settle for performance. You weren't born to recite a new life, you were born to live it. So pause. Before you speak another word of power, ask, have I stepped into the being that matches this phrase? Don't say, I am calm, breathe like someone calm. Don't declare, I'm ready to be seen, while hiding in self-doubt. Instead, stretch into the discomfort. Let your body, your voice, your choices catch up to your declarations. Affirmations should never be used to mask fear, they should be used to anchor identity. When spoken from the center of a new state, they don't create friction, they amplify truth. They become prophecy, not performance. And once you stop using words to escape reality and start using them to express embodiment, something powerful begins to take shape. You'll find the secret doorway that most never notice. You think you want more, but you're still behaving like someone who has less. And until that changes, nothing outside of you will. The law is exact. You don't manifest what you desire, you manifest what you inhabit, what you expect as normal, what feels like home to your nervous system. If more success, more love, or more freedom still feels like a dream rather than your identity, then you're not becoming, you're just wishing. You say, I want peace, but you organize your life around urgency. You say, I want wealth, but you don't study, don't plan, and don't move, like someone responsible for abundance. This is not judgment, it's the mercy of awareness, because once you see it, you can change it. The shift begins quietly. Before you raise your standards publicly, raise them privately, in your posture, in your preparation, in your imagination. When you say, I am loved, dwell in that feeling for no one's approval. When you say, I am powerful, stop rehearsing powerlessness in your head. This is not pretending. Pretending is what you've already been doing, pretending to be limited while carrying the image of God within you. Becoming is different. Becoming is the decision to move now as the person you were born to remember. No audience required. So start now. Let the day reflect the internal upgrade. Choose your food, your boundaries, your pace, your words as someone who already is the version they thought they were chasing. No more waiting to arrive. No more bargaining with worth. And once you settle into that new interior, not for 10 minutes, but as a way of being, the outer world must respond. Because reality isn't responding to what you say, it's responding to who's talking. That's when everything accelerates. Because now, reality has no choice but to catch up to the truth you finally accepted. And what happens next is what you've been waiting for all along. There comes a moment subtle but unmistakable when you realize you no longer need to force it. You're not chasing, convincing, or affirming anymore. You're simply being, and the world, with all its resistance, begins to soften in your presence. Not because circumstances have changed, but because you have. You stop saying, I hope I'm becoming. You start knowing, this is who I am now. That is identity. And identity is magnetic. Every decision you make now flows differently. You invest with certainty. You walk into rooms with quiet authority. You stop negotiating with doubt because you no longer identify as someone uncertain. People feel it. Opportunities respond to it. Life moves around you as if it recognizes you, not the old you who begged to be seen, but the new one who no longer needs to be. This is what most people miss. They try to manifest from lack instead of evolving from it. But when identity changes, you no longer manifest, you stabilize. You hold a frequency so consistently that the universe begins to echo it without hesitation. And you'll notice this shift not in grand moments, but in the tiny details. How you reply to messages, how you rest, how you no longer explain yourself. Even silence becomes powerful. Because power is no longer something you try to project, it's something you carry. So let this be clear. The work was never about changing the world, it was about changing who you are in it. Once that happens, you realize reality isn't something out there to attract. It's something in here to express. And now finally your words begin to work. Not because they're magic, but because the one speaking them finally is.